Bikini Bottom, a place where logic takes a vacation and the laws of physics pack their bags and wave a cheerful goodbye. It's a wondrous underwater metropolis where sponges flip burgers, squirrels wear diving suits, and fire burns underwater. Yes, fire in water. But if you're here looking for a deep scientific breakdown of how this all works, you've clearly missed the memo. Science moved out of Bikini Bottom a long time ago, replaced by pure chaos and a sea star named Patrick, who probably can't spell chaos. SpongeBob lives in a pineapple under the sea. Pineapples, as far as we know, do not grow in the ocean. Yet there it stands, complete with functional plumbing, furniture, and a pet snail named Gary, who meows like a cat. How does this make sense? It doesn't. But who cares? The absurdity is part of the charm. You're too busy laughing at SpongeBob flipping Krabby Patties to question why his house hasn't been swept away by the currents. Meanwhile, Plankton spends his days trying to steal the secret formula, despite being the size of a sesame seed and somehow having access to advanced robotics. His evil plans defy not only physics, but also logic, ethics, and occasionally copyright law. And then there's Sandy Cheeks, the Texas-born squirrel who decided, you know what sounds fun? Living at the bottom of the ocean in a glass dome. Her scientific background apparently gave her the ability to create a fully functioning terrestrial ecosystem underwater. She even built an airlock system and an exercise wheel. Yet this same brilliant mind spends her time karate chopping SpongeBob into oblivion. Her dome, by the way, has never cracked, despite the antics of her neighbors, including one particularly destructive sea star with a questionable IQ. Now let's talk about the residents. How do fish walk upright and wear clothes? Why do they need lifeguards at Goo Lagoon, a beach in the ocean? It's water within water, waterception, if you will. And why is there sand? Isn't the ocean floor already sand? Are we dealing with a sand surplus in Bikini Bottom? Nobody knows. And don't even get me started on Bubble Buddy, a sentient bubble that has rights, friends, and a suspiciously strong work ethic. Bubbles are supposed to pop, not hang out. Oh, and remember the time SpongeBob and Patrick were stranded on the surface, dried out, and still alive? They looked like discarded potato chips. Sound waves in water behave differently than in air, but apparently not in Bikini Bottom, where Squidward's playing is equally awful regardless of the medium. Let's not ignore the inexplicable social structures. Mr. Krabs, a crab, has a whale for a daughter. There's never been an explanation for this biological mismatch, and honestly, there never needs to be one. It's a reminder that Bikini Bottom doesn't answer to your human ideas of genetics. And why is money such a big deal underwater? Why do fish need jobs, homes, or alarm clocks when they live in a place where time is apparently a suggestion and gravity forgets to show up half the time? Let's take a closer look at the complete and utter breakdown of natural laws that occurs in this zany underwater. And while we're at it, try to imagine what would happen if we applied Bikini Bottom logic to the real world. Spoiler alert, chaos. SpongeBob is a literal sponge, and as we all know, sponges absorb water. Yet speaking of water physics, can we talk about Goo Lagoon? In Bikini Bottom, physics throws up its hands and goes, close enough. Fish lounge on the sand and surf in the waves as if they're not already fully underwater. By this logic, we should be able to have little pools of water floating in midair on land. But guess what? Gravity and atmospheric pressure say no. And how about those campfires spotter? Not exactly conducive to combustion. Yet Bikini Bottom sees no problem with flames crackling merrily in the middle of the ocean floor. In fact, SpongeBob has been known to roast marshmallows and cook hot dogs over these scientifically impossible fires. If we could replicate this on land, we'd be solving some serious energy crises. But alas, the real world insists on launching bombs. Then there's the issue of sound. In the real world, sound travels faster in water than in air because water molecules are denser. That's why whales can communicate across vast distances in the ocean. But SpongeBob and Squidward can hold conversations without distortion, and Squidward's clarinet emits the same painful squeaks regardless of the medium. If real-world physics applied, their conversations would sound like garbled whale calls, and Squidward's music, already bad, would just be incomprehensible gurgling, which, frankly, might be an improvement. Sandy? Even with oxygen tanks, squirrels are not built for deep-sea pressures. If a real squirrel tried this, it would implode faster than you can say blink. But Sandy? She's out there breaking boards, inventing rocket ships, and eating acorns like the ocean isn't actively trying to crush her.